Hey, what's up, everybody? So we got a little trade rumor here before the end of the night. Um, the Lakers would be sending Taylor Horton Tucker to Toronto. Toronto would also be getting back Nerlens Noel. The Raptors would be sending Goran Dragic to the Knicks, and I guess picks would be coming from those other two teams. And we would be getting Alec Burks and Cam Reddish. I like the deal because I'm a big fan of Cam Reddish. I know what he can do. He's a versatile player who can play both defense and offense. Can immediately come in and give us an asset that we can see ascending into a better position. Um, he's not getting any minutes in New York. He was in a logjam in Atlanta, and those are the only two situations he's ever been in. He was out for most of the season last year, but then came in the playoffs and was a hero for Atlanta in one of those games where we got a chance to really see what he could do. He has star level talent. Um, the question about him coming out of college was his motor and whether or not he would really be up for it, in terms of what was asked of him. But his natural ability is unmatched in terms of you will not doubt that he can ball and ball out a lot. I'm not sitting here saying that I think he's the answer, um, but I certainly understand that he's somebody that would be an immediate asset, um, somebody that we would be able to see, grow in this Laker uniform, and somebody that could be a part of this thing post LeBron. Um, thing is we're giving up THT to do it, and he's just as good of a prospect in theory 3-4 years down the road as you believe Cam Reddish will be. I think they're both going to be really good players. I just think THT is on a terrible contract, so you got to get out from under it. So if you're going to give up THT, you would like to think that you're going to get back a prospect that you're just as equally excited about. So I think Cam Reddish is somebody that does that. Alec Burks to me is somebody who's a baller. He could definitely ball. I've seen him play good ball, but he's more so right now in the lane of, in my humble opinion, in the lane of like Avery Bradley, or in the lane of like another one of our guys at 1-6. Basically, he's another 1-6 guy more or less. But I don't care nothing about that. I waive him and just take back uh, Cam Reddish, and obviously Cam Reddish isn't on no $10 million deal, so we would be creating cap space by doing that. So that's a deal we could pull off. I don't. They said that Kendrick Nunn might be involved in that deal as well, and if that's the case, I'd imagine we'd be taking back more than Cam Reddish and Taylor and Alec Burke, because that would not. Once you start putting in that $5 million, and we start talking about sending out um, $14 million in salary. So I didn't do the trade tracker to see exactly what Cam Reddish is on. I'm not really sure what his contract's looking like. So if this deal gets done, I'll of course do that. But yeah, I'm huge on Cam Reddish. If you guys listened to me a couple of days ago, I mentioned that I thought it was egregious that anybody would have Cam Reddish on their team and not play him. I just said that last week when we played the Knicks. I think it's atrocious that they did that. And I just think that he hasn't had an opportunity to show exactly how talented he is, and if he gets into a situation where he can, he'll play well. Um, so that's really what I think of him. I think I would love to have him. Um, my energy isn't as high about bringing him in because I do have my concerns about what he'll look like when he gets here, based on um, the fact that he hasn't been able to crack rotations in other areas, and the fact that we have Frank Vogel, whose system doesn't really leave a whole lot of room for a lot of things. But as far as just in a vacuum, yeah, I'm super excited about having Cam Reddish. If I were starting a franchise, he would be one of those players that I wouldn't have any problem adding to my team, and believing in his upside. So, needless to say, this is a trade that I would be happy to do, um, depending on the framework of the finalized deal. As is right now, I'd be cool with it. I don't think I want to throw in that $5 million mid-level exception Kendrick Nunn contract into this deal necessarily if I'm giving up THT. But just giving up THT and bringing back two pieces in Alec Burke and Cam Reddish seems pretty solid to me. I'd do that. Nerlens Noel would be going to Toronto. I personally think that we should be trying to go after a center, but I'm not a big Nerlens Noel fan anyway, so I don't really care for us necessarily bringing him in. but we can certainly use his shot blocking. We can certainly use somebody to be a center for this team, to say the least. So we definitely need what he would bring to the table, and if we could try to swing it so that we get Nerlens instead of Alec, I think that would be an even bigger W for us. So these are the type of things the Lakers are doing. I don't think they're moves that are going to make us that much better. If anything, this is a lateral move, to be honest with you. I think THT is not as a productive player as Cam is in theory, but to be honest with you, THT has played a lot more than Cam lately, so you really don't know that. And plus, he's been healthier than Cam. Cam's had his injury issues, so you got some things to consider in a deal like this. But ultimately, I feel very confident that both of those guys are going to be very good in 3-4 years' time. THT is going to be just fine. I know it's just what contract he's on right now and how he's looking right now, but he's going to be just fine. And Cam Reddish, I believe, too. That both of those guys will be very, very good. So it's a lateral move, but it's something that'll keep people understanding that at least the Lakers are trying to wheel and deal a little bit. They're not offering up the 2027 pick in this deal. And like I said, Taylor Horton-Tucker's contract is just not favorable. And, getting out from under it may create a little bit of wiggle room for cap space. I think if you do a deal like this, maybe you look to swing another deal that does something similar to create little bits of cap space anywhere where you can before this trade deadline. If the Lakers pull off two little small moves that create cap space, I think that's a win. Because ultimately we just need flexibility that we just do not have right now. And so this works. This works. I'm not saying that it's a home run, but if we were to pull it off, I would not slam it. I think it's all right. I really like Cam Reddish as a player and as a prospect rather. And if you're patient with him, I think his upside could possibly be much greater than what you even think. So I ain't gonna put a label on it, but I will say that that's a talented, naturally gifted scorer and naturally gifted defensive player and a multi-positional player that can really provide us some versatility. Thing about him that you have to understand is he really does play D. He could play D, and we've seen him in the playoffs. If you really want to know what Cam Reddish can do, go back and look at those Atlanta playoffs. Look at his highlights from those games where he was able to come right back from an injury, like immediately from an injury, and score, I think, like 30 points and lead his team. It was a fantastic playoff performance by that kid. So I know what he can do. The question is he ever going to get an opportunity to do it on a consistent basis? And if so, how soon can he help us? That would be the question. And for whatever reason, he can't crack the rotation in New York. And for whatever reason, he was behind a bunch of players in Atlanta instead of stepping out in front of those guys. So those are things that you have questions about. But ultimately, I would definitely love to bring him in. So, yeah, that's what I got to say, man. Alec Burke we saw a week ago. Like I said, I think of him as like a Avery Bradley, Wayne Ellington type. He's kind of like that. Could score, could do some things for you, but he's a little long in the tooth. He wasn't really helpful against us for his team, so I'm not as high on him. I just kind of think we need to go youth. And if we're giving up youth to bring back youth, and then we bring back another one of those old guys, I don't think it really makes us better. But again, I'm not necessarily bringing in that deal for that reason. I'm just trying to create flexibility if I do this type of deal. So, yeah, it's not the worst thing in the world, man. Not the worst thing in the world at all. I think we'll be very happy to have Cam Reddish on this team when it's all said and done if we do this. However, don't be so certain that you won't be sad that THT's gone a couple years from now. We've seen a lot of guys struggle in this uniform, and immediately when they leave, they're ballers. And let me tell you something. THT on Toronto, yeah, watch. You'll see what I mean. He'll still be struggling a little bit, but a couple years from now, THT is going to be a very serious player for the Toronto Raptors. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Video 44.